Hey, welcome into the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com as it's season 5, episode 7 of the year. I'm Hayden Uhlenkott, one of your co-hosts of the North Idaho Prepcast, and as always, this is being streamed on our X account, YouTube, and Facebook, live and free, of course, just like Idaho Sports, and our always great sponsor, Cornerstone Insurance. And with that, I'll bring on one of our co-hosts, Ryan Scaggs. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going. Mariners clinch the playoffs. Life's good today.
Life is good,
Yeah,
Every time they win something, you got to take advantage of it.
that's right. Yeah. Now I'll attribute some of the recent success to my son and I going to the game weekend before last. But no,
Yeah, and you got to be you got nice seats and
dude, we got to. I don't know if you can see it right there on the that ball right there on the left was the final pitch of the game. The umpire gave it to my son at the end of the game. So yeah, super awesome. I've been a Mariners fan since I was forever ago. I mean, we're talking late 80s. So yeah, to see the success finally once again is awesome because it only happens like once every 25 years, it seems. So that tells you how old I am because I can remember the last time they were successful. I was in high school. So
and I wasn't born yet, so it's really good.
good.
Well, we do have one special guest, and we were really grateful to be able to get him on to the Prepcast just to learn more about his sport and his program and everything he's put together. And he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's a 3-time state champion. He's 3 times he's gotten 4th place, and he's a consolation champ, 1-time runner-up, and a 3rd place finisher twice. And last year he was the consolation champ in the girls soccer ranks in the 6A classification, and that is head coach of the Lake City Timberwolves, Matt Ruchti. How you doing, Matt?
Great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, sounds like I got everything right. 3-time state champ, is that right?
Yeah. All those other ones, I'm super old.
You
too.
Forget about them.
I'm a little older than Ryan as well, but all those other ones, I have no idea. But I definitely know the 3-time state champion one. That one's for sure.
It's the only one that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we're happy to have you on here, and we just wanted to, take an inside look at what your program has put together. Right now, you're, 9-0 on the year with 1 draw. That 1 draw was to a really good Beaverton team. We'll touch on them later on. You have 2 games left on your schedule from what we can see against Lakeland and Central Valley. But I wanted to start with, when this season started just over a month ago, what was your expectations heading into the year? And have you guys exceeded expectations, or are you kind of just on par for what you expected out of this group?
That's a great question. Going into the season, I thought we'd be a very deep squad. I thought we would be pushing 27, 28, 29 players that can really play. And, unfortunately this year, the starting lineup that we kind of set forth and kind of wanted to compete to get players to, we have not reached that yet. Sadly, we've had some pretty significant injuries. We've had players, that are just coming back this week that have been out all season. And, so that, as far as expectations going into the year, that was one that we, you always plan on having some setbacks, but this year we've had more setbacks than we've ever had, just unfortunate situations. So our expectations don't ever change. We have some pillars in the program that we always try to stick to. And, some of those things are, we play hard every day, and the expectation is that, we play to win every day, and we try to learn every day, and we see where we're at the end of the day, right? When it comes to that. So as far as expectations to go, we never set out, we don't really goal set in our program. We don't set out to win, league or district championships or qualify for state. We never talk about those things. Our focus is very player centered, and it is, playing hard every day and trying to get better. And I know that's a little cliche and maybe a little superstitious as well, but it's definitely something that served us well and kind of what we've been able to build on traditionally. So.
Yeah, and so, being here in North Idaho, that you have to travel. I mean, pretty much to raise the level of competition. I mean, there's 2 teams within your conference, you and Coeur d'Alene at the 6A ranks this year. with Post Falls having to opt down to 5A or choosing to opt down to 5A. So to get that level of competition, and you played some teams from out of the state of Idaho, and I mean, you play Central Valley here in a week or so, but you played the two Oregon schools, Beaverton and Tigard. And I don't know, we kind of talked off air beforehand saying like, well, that Beaverton team was really good. Yeah, you're right. They're really good. They're undefeated right now in the state of Oregon. They're ranked number 2. They're ranked number 2. So that's yeah, that's a great match. So you're choosing well as far as competition goes, and without making multiple trips down to southern Idaho and things like that. But looking at your schedule that you've had thus far, how has that set you up compared to years past as you work towards the state tournament? Hopefully, I mean, I know you still have districts, and Coeur d'Alene's still a tough program.
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do that's in front of us. Just getting healthy and trying to play really well. With the whole implementation of max preps and the way that I feel like, state tournaments are constantly changing, classifications are constantly changing. I went into this season thinking like we've got to prepare ourselves to utilize the system that's going to be put into play. And so adding a tougher schedule outside of our area can help in our max preps strength of schedule, right? Max preps it's not going away. It's only going to strengthen in the state tournament variable, right?
Yeah.
So I looked at it as, how can we build this so that we can utilize max preps? We're pretty fortunate. We play a handful of Spokane teams every year if they will play us. Sometimes getting them to commit to playing us, at least the top 3 or 4 teams, is not always. They don't always have a place in their schedule to play us. So we were fortunate enough to play Gonzaga Prep this year, although they were a little bit down. We do have CV, and we tried to get some other teams in the past. But the idea behind that is that next year, with max preps being even stronger, Tigard and Beaverton are scheduled to come over here and play us. We'll find another way to play a couple of other max prep difficult teams that are in our vicinity. I don't think we'll travel down to Boise for preseason stuff. That's not really our style. If we're fortunate enough that the players make it to state, we'll deal with Boise area schools when we get there. So we try to use the resources around us, and luckily our admin is outstanding. The joke around here is that Lake City's a soccer school on the girls' side, which I'm super proud of. We get well taken care of. We don't ever get told no. We get supported in everything that we do. It's a top tier sport in our school, and that's a testament to the players that participate and the admin that supports it, and and the community that surrounds it. So, but yeah, strength of schedule, that's a big one.
Yeah, you think that a lot of the schools down in like East Idaho, they choose to travel up to play Boise schools, and they kind of deal with that battle, and you guys decide, okay, let's go find the best school in Oregon, or maybe the best school in Washington.
Yeah.
And it's a different approach, and you're right, with max preps, it makes it potentially a way more valuable asset for you guys down the road. The other question I wanted to ask you is, like, each year you come in with an identity of what you expect out of your program. Last year you guys got 4th place, but what is your identity, and what's your guys' play style for somebody that's not watched Lake City soccer?
Well, I would say that going into this year, we are, and it's emphasized every year, but this year even more so, is competition. Create competitive environments every day in how we build training sessions, and that leads to a little bit of the style of play that we do, and we play. I mean, every day is about playing. So we design games that is, coaches will talk about, possession and formation and all those types of things. For us, it's we create competitive environments where they play every day. We design fitness in our training sessions. We don't do fitness outside of our training sessions. We play for an hour and a half, and we don't ever go over that. We are maxed out at that hour and a half, and that's our design. If I can't get it done in an hour and a half, then I'm not doing my job. And if they're not competing really hard every day, for an hour and a half, then they're not doing their job. So our style of play is really designed around, player continuity and putting them, being uncomfortable in the environments that they're in. And that's part of my job and why I get paid so much to design sessions that create those types of things. And competing is a big deal. A lot of these players, they all come from their club teams where they're the top players on those teams. And, they can take days off a lot of times, because they're very talented in those environments. But when you come to Lake City, and we get a lot of players that choose to come to Lake City, they're all good players. We're very blessed. I wouldn't have had the program wouldn't have had the success without the players that choose to come there. And the players that choose to come there know that they're coming to compete, and they're going to compete in a top 5 program in the state year in and year out. And that's the expectation that we set. And so competing is a big part of our identity day in and day out.
And that's at the end of the day, as a coach, like, your ultimate goal is, your biggest competition is going to be yourself.
Yeah.
And, you've done a really good job instilling that mindset within your program of repetitive success. And I was just going through, and I, drove by yesterday when you guys were playing Coeur d'Alene. I live not far from Lake City High School. And you pull crowds. And that place was packed yesterday afternoon in that crosstown rivalry. And you end up notching the 2-0 victory over Coeur d'Alene. Talk a little bit about your team. Let the listeners kind of know about some of the kids you have in your program and the girls that, work so hard, because, they're putting on a show this year as far as record goes. You're 3 of the max preps in Idaho right now in the latest rankings that came out this weekend. But we kind of want to know a little bit more on the personal side. Like personalities and what's the feel of your team, and what's the continuity within the program, and because you lose some kids year in, year out to graduation. Obviously, it's high school sports, and you've had some insanely successful girls go on to play Division I soccer. But we get to see what's in the newspaper, but we don't get to see the kids behind it necessarily. So tell us just a little bit about who you are and your identity and personality.
That's a big one, because we have a lot of personalities, which makes my job, the best part of my job isn't game day. It's training. So you get to spend a lot of time with them. I always thank the parents at the end of the year for allowing me to do that, because I see them more than they do, especially during the fall. We spend a lot of time together, lunches, training sessions, bus rides, all of this stuff. They spend a lot of time together as well. They've got a competitive athletics class that they take together. So, we have every single type of personality. We have the loud goalkeeper who's a little crazy and Savvy Spencer and is galvanizing in what she does, and it fits perfectly for the position that she plays. We have dominant personalities that play up top in Riley Brazel, who commands a lot of attention in everything that she does. We have great leadership in our seniors that know their roles and do a great job executing their roles, in like Bailey Coster and Emmy Rakes, who suffered a season-ending injury and hasn't been able to play all season, but hasn't hasn't let her role in what she's supposed to be doing slide one bit. We have, players are free to express who they are and what we do. We have no rules in our program. So we don't set any rules and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. They never get told what to do by me. So there's some pillars that we've established, and we just have expectations. And when players don't meet those expectations, we have personal conversations. That's because they're all different kids. So they know that they're free to be who they want, as far as that goes. And I think it's made us a very adaptive group. We are not perfect. They don't always get along to exactly how every coach wants them to. But I always, one of our pillars is that we talk about being a family every day. And I tell them every day, it's okay when families get in fights, because at the end of the day, we're going to eat some food together and we're going to figure it out. So We've got leaders in Bailey Coster, like I said, Emmy Rakes. We've got, center mids with quiet kids like a freshman like Lila Moreau, who's she's she goes to school at home and she doesn't go to Lake City. She's online and she's the quietest kid, but she is an outstanding player and fits right in with everything that we do. We just have so many. My daughter's in the program, which is always another layer of interest with her friend group that I'm, coaching and setting expectations for. And then, they're eating dinner at my house, all the time and coming over for lunch. And my family in my home is very open. It's an open door. So it is full of soccer kids like my classroom every day. And so that's always a unique, scenario with that. But we got a lot of special kids, man. And it's hard to highlight all of them because they all bring everything they can to the program every day. And we're not perfect. We don't do everything perfect and we don't try to be perfect, but we just, we let them be who they are. We've had great players step up this year. Our sophomore class has been outstanding. Finley Wright, Ava Roberts, our junior class has been outstanding, and Katie Kovach and AK. And, those guys have played multiple roles that maybe they've not had to play before, but our injuries have really allowed them to expand their worth and expand their soccer identity and and who they are as a player and their growth and their journey. And so that's been great, as far as that goes. So,
and I guess I'll ask one follow-up question because I'm assuming you're a pretty competitive guy. Who's your most competitive player? Like just relentless, hardcore, hates losing.
That's probably Riley Brazel right now.
She got a goal last night too, unassisted.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Yeah, she did. She, that kid comes to play, and we, that's kind of a staple of ours. We've had a lot of those types of players in our program that kind of just set the tone. Bailey Coster is another one that's like that as well. We have a lot of those players, right? And they know like that's the expectation. There are no days off. There are no plays off, and that is what we highlight. But those, I mean, we got kids that, it doesn't matter what we're playing. Those kids are going to come in and they're going to lay the wood and they're going to, run through you and they're going to compete and play as hard as they can. And it just spreads, right? It's an epidemic at that point. Everybody then gets in line. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. There's no hierarchy in what we do. So when we talk about one of our pillars, we say leaders lead. You lead in the classroom. The expectations, they sit in the front row every day, right? That we do those types of things, and we have a lot of student government kids. The footprint of girls soccer at Lake City High School is massive. They are involved in everything, not just soccer. So there's a lot of expectations that go into our program that just they transcend across the entire gamut of what they're doing in the high school world, and hopefully what they do at the next level. 2 years ago, we had, 5 or 6 kids at the college level playing, and every one of them were their college captains. And couldn't be more proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I don't know, other sports do this, and I think I've even heard other coaches say this, but like you could have easily said that, you have a player that's really good with the ball in transition, or you have a really good defender. But instead you chose personality, which I think is interesting. And I almost think that soccer, it almost seems like a more important part of the game than maybe any other sport, because you truly see, their emotions on the field and you see how they work together. And it's such a game that is revolved around chemistry, maybe more than other sports. And I just thought that was really interesting that you brought that up rather than, highlighting their skill level or their talents.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. And that's how I do think of them that way. Their skill set, or they're all unique, and they've got to learn to become adaptive. Bailey Coster is a great example. We started her as a center back last night against Coeur d'Alene, which is a big game for us. Anytime you play your cross, she's never played in that position. We had a kid who was out. We had a couple of starters that were out yesterday, and we had to adapt, and we had to play players in different spots. And, she did great. She was outstanding. She was a beast yesterday. And so their personalities, and it blends a little bit into mine, I guess. And the expectation is for them to be adaptive and to put the program first is another pillar of ours where we, if we ask you to do something, I'm not asking you. It's the program and the team that's asking you, and we've had a great example of that I couldn't be more proud of this season is we've had some really tough injuries on the JV team. And so we have circled every single player around that JV program to keep it going. And it doesn't matter if you're the starting leading scorer or the starting center back or whatever on the varsity team, you might have to find some minutes to help out the JV players because those kids deserve to play with players that are their caliber. And they train with us every day. We don't separate the two. So I know the personalities of every kid on the JV team. I can talk about Piper Harwood. I can talk about Taylor. I can talk about Rainey. I can talk about Aubrey. I could talk about every single one of those kids.
That's awesome.
The same way that I could talk about our best players on the varsity team, because there is no difference between what we do from one group to the other. It's a program first, and that's the way we roll. So,
no, that's amazing, Coach, and super appreciative of the insight. I will give a special shout out to your goalkeeper, Savvy. You guys are averaging on defense, only giving up half a goal a game on the season thus far. Like at high school soccer level, I mean that's kind of a ridiculous stat line to be that good on the defensive side of the ball, especially in goal. What has that meant to your team as far as being able to trust who's in goal and who's at the net day in and day out?
It's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. We had to kind of rebuild part of the back line from last year. We've added, a couple of new players to the Bailey Coster's a new player because of an injury. Kate Story's a sophomore that stepped up. Ryan Blair that played there. Anyway, yeah, but the stalwart, the steadiness is Savvy. She's a phenomenal athlete. She covers a lot of ground. She's great with her feet. She's one of our better players technically with her feet. So you can play her any type of ball. She absolutely has a presence about her. And when she's on, there's not a better goalkeeper in the state or in the region. Her journey is her journey, and she's getting better every day at all of the, little things about playing that position. But absolutely that plays a big role in keeping, we have, her job's to keep it out of the net, the front lines to eliminate the opportunities she has to take, and our best defenders, we talk about it every day, are our forwards. If our forwards are going to defend as hard as they can, then it makes it a lot easier for the back line to defend. So
yeah, because you haven't given up a goal since September 9th. Just looking at the schedule. Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And that goal against Beaverton was an own goal off a corner. We should have won that game. But, and then the other one, we gave up a PK. Yeah, so listen, it could all go sideways tomorrow. We know that. We just keep plugging away and
flush it and move on, right?
We try to enjoy what we do and play every day, man. And
that's awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, and we are enjoying watching the success that you and your team are having. And we wish you continued success. And selfishly, being in North Idaho, we're rooting like crazy for you to see you move on and hopefully bring home some hardware this year. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. And anytime you want to highlight, girls soccer again, you just let me know, or I can give you other names that are probably well more deserving than me. That's for sure. But I appreciate you guys highlighting the program and appreciate what you guys do for high school sports for sure.
Oh, you're
awesome.
Welcome.
Well, thanks, Coach. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Go Wolves, man.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, Matt Ruchti's awesome. I want to go play for the guy.
I know.
What a man. That's awesome. Yeah, and what a success his program's having. I mean, they picked up a huge win over Coeur d'Alene last night, 2-0. 2 games left on the regular season schedule. They got Lakeland coming up, and then they got a big match, non-league against Central Valley. So, yeah, I mean, wish them the best. They're on a roll right now, and we're loving it. It's awesome.
Well, we ran a little longer than we thought we probably could
I
have.
think it was deserving. Like, I mean, he's a good interview. Yeah, that was a great interview.
I agree. So we'll see how quick we can run through stuff. We're going to touch on a little bit of cross country, a little bit of golf, and then end it off with some football. But in the comments, we have a few of them. Rivar Allen, how about them Cami Cubs? You know, if I had to guess who this is, just a hot guess, hot take. I was walking through the store of Cami and I saw a kid, and his name's Richard Allen. He's one of the offensive linemen for the Cubs, and I asked him about the game last night. And he was a little surprised, but that's okay. Also in the chat, the Wallace Minor Athletics. Ryan Scaggs is rocking a beard that's absolute varsity minutes. Hayden showing up with a mullet that's fresher than a game under the lights. The Prepcast is buzzing, boys. Hashtag Minor Pride.
That's comment of the year right there. It's hunting season. I mean, I can't let it go. So yeah, no, it's
that's funny. That's funny. Okay, Scaggs. Well, let's talk some golf. Probably not full beard and a mullet you see very often on the golf course. There was only one golf tournament last week, and it was at the Idaho Club, the Sandpoint Invitational.
That's a great club. That's a great course. Jack Nicklaus course. That is an awesome place to play.
The Coeur d'Alene girls won that tournament. Big surprise. Lakeland placed second, Lewiston third, Sandpoint fourth, Post Falls fifth, and Moscow sixth. Ella Wilson for the girls shot 3 over par, and the second closest was Josetta Williams, who also is with Coeur d'Alene, and she shot 9 over. So a big gap between, Ella and the rest of the pack. Kind of crazy how much of a performance she's put on, especially as a sophomore this year.
Yeah, she's playing lights out. She was great down the stretch last year and just continued that success, playing great golf. And on a tough course too. I mean, that Idaho Club is not an easy place to play, but it's a beautiful setting. Holy cow, is it a nice course. So there's some jealousy as the 40-year-old guy in a podcast, like watching these high school kids go and play some of the premier golf courses in the, Northwest. It's not fair, but it makes me second guess, why was I playing, football, or why was I doing this and that in high school? But that's here or there. But yeah, and then on the boys' side too, I mean, Tyler Zachary of Lakeland shot a 75, ended up in the 4-man playoff for the medalist, which ended up getting won by Logan Roos. Hit a birdie on the first playoff hole, which was a par 3 16th. So yeah, I mean, there's some great scores being thrown up everywhere. I mean, you look at just individual efforts, you got some great play that's going to bode well for the rest of the season, especially as you get towards, district golf and then ultimately state tournament. And these scores, if they can keep it up. One good thing about the nice weather that we've had is these courses are in phenomenal condition for fall golf. So, you're going to continue to see some of these scores be pretty on par, pun intended, as far as continuing to have the success.
Yeah, on the boys' front, Ashton Literal and Colt Walker were the other 2 players on the Lewiston side, and Lewiston actually won that tournament. Post Falls got second, Lakeland third, Sandpoint fourth. Okay, switch to cross country real quick. There was a invitational down in Irvine, California. Irvine, 1,371 miles away from the one school that would go to that Coeur d'Alene. And they did good. I mean, they did about as good as you could possibly do. Wyatt Morganson, he's a sophomore. He finished 12th. Mitchell Rice, he's a senior, finished 13th. Coeur d'Alene, either I saw 6th and I saw 8th place, but out of 37 schools going down. And I mean, you're talking 2 schools from Austin, Texas, 1 from Boulder, Colorado, another from Manhattan Beach, California. You're getting some of the probably best teams in the West Coast area, and to finish in the top 10 is pretty remarkable. Yeah. And then on the girls' side, the girls won, and it wasn't close. I mean, just to give you, I don't know if anyone knows cross country scores, but Coeur d'Alene put up an 89. The next closest was 141. So yeah. Talk about a blowout. The top finisher for Coeur d'Alene was Victoria Howard. She's a freshman. Put up a good score. And then Dakota Keywork, she got 12th. So pretty good showing from Coeur d'Alene down in a California Invitational.
Yeah, no, that's awesome work from the Vikings. And we've been talking about them for what seems like a decade now. But The program has just been absolutely phenomenal. And that's a lot to do with the coaching too, but there's a lot to do with the kids. I mean, you see them running around town in the summer. I saw the cross country team doing their workouts on their own in the heat this summer, running around town and all the time. And I live not far from the Prairie Trail, and you can see those kids just putting in the miles. So it's showing up. I mean, you wonder why they have the success is they're putting in the effort. So yeah, hats off to Vikings.
There was also the Mountain West Classic at the University of Montana golf course, and that was a weird golf course in the sense of the amount of teams that went. I mean, Timberlake was there, Sandpoint, Sugar Salem, Soda Springs, Lakeland, Teton, Century, Moscow, and Hillcrest all went to that.
From Idaho,
yeah, from Idaho. You're right. There was a lot of Montana schools that went to that as well. Just a very diverse group of teams that went. Annabelle Carr of Coeur d'Alene Charter finished 6th there, and then Lola Eggleston of Timberlake finished 20th, and then on the boys' side, Caleb Royce from Timberlake finished 29th. So he was the top finisher up north. And then there was also there was a meet down at the LCSC course down in Lewiston, where Lucas Clements.
Hell's Gate State Park, if I'm not mistaken.
You might be right. Yep. And Lucas Clements for Lewiston finished 2nd, and then Ian Franklin of Lewiston also finished 6th. And then the Lewiston girls got 2nd as well. So it was a pretty good showing for Lewiston. Kellogg and Troy also went to that. But yeah, Lewiston looked pretty good on their kind of home turf, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you're not running at elevation down there either.
True. You'd be
at 700 feet above sea level. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Scaggs, let's switch gears to, we're going to touch on football. We hit soccer and volleyball really hard last week. So we're going to hit our recap for last week. Lewiston stuns Bothell, Sandpoint and Lakeland 5-0. Last week that exact headline was Sandpoint and Lakeland are 4-0. I didn't know what else to put. I mean, They won again. Kellogg wins the OT Thriller versus Timberlake, and Logos wins the Holy War. Pick one of those headlines. Which one stands out?
Sandpoint and Lakeland at 5-0. I'm going to keep beating on this one. Sandpoint got a big win Thursday night over Pocatello, playing neutral site game at Washington Grizzly Stadium in Missoula, and they absolutely manhandled Pocatello. It was just an absolute drubbing. The offense was rolling. Yarborough, a wide receiver, went off for a huge game. I think he had 125 yards receiving. He was 4 for 4 on extra points, and I think he had a field goal in the game as well. So had himself a heck of a night. So Sandpoint's looking really good. They've got a huge test coming up this Friday night, which we may be making a late announcement for an IdahoSports.com game. Possibly, we're hoping. I'm waiting to hear back from Tony Perka, the athletic director at Coeur d'Alene High School, see if we can do that game. We're trying to get it here on the network. So that would be awesome if we get that late ad. But going to be a huge game for Sandpoint. And then you look at Lakeland, they went into Post Falls, and I mean, they absolutely just drubbed the Trojans. I had that game. Luckily, I was able to be on the broadcast, which, to see, I've been watching film of Lakeland and seeing their games on video. To see them in person, that team's a machine. I mean, they are just physical as all get out up front. Their line on defense and offense are equally impressive. They were better than what I thought they were coming into the year. I knew that those units were going to be really good. They're pretty outstanding. So, if Sandpoint gets a big win against Coeur d'Alene on Friday, Lakeland has Moscow this week. I think, the Hawks take care of business in that game. We're 2 weeks away from that, or 3 weeks away from them playing each other. If we see, how big is that game going to be if they both come into the game undefeated? I mean, that could be huge for both those programs. Even if Sandpoint comes in with a loss to, say, Coeur d'Alene, it's still a massive game. I'm not going to write off the Bulldogs at all this year. I think both of those teams they're definitely semifinal caliber programs. I think 5A is going to be especially more competitive than a lot of the other classifications this year. I know that we've said in years past, we've looked at like 4A being really good or 3A having a lot of competition as far as body of work. 5A is the division this year, the classification that I see having 5 teams that are all there that I could see playing championship weekend. That's just how deep the 5A is this year.
Yeah. And we got a comment in the chat, and that's why I was kind of not paying full attention. Kevin Buckhout, who do you think had the tougher schedule, Lakeland or Sandpoint? How does that play into the max preps rankings? To be honest with you, I think Sandpoint has the clear strength of schedule advantage. And
I would agree.
Speaking of the max preps rankings, Brandon Baney is going to hit on this, all for the next month and a half. He's going to be touching on these. But at the moment in 5A, Bishop Kelly's 1, Hillcrest 2, Skyline 3, Sandpoint 4, Lakeland 5. And right now, I think that's pretty on par for what we'd expect.
Yeah.
Sandpoint and Lakeland are going to have a hard time getting above that ranking.
Yeah, especially with BK having the win over Rigby. That's a lot of weight. That's going to carry a ton of weight. And BK, the SIC is not as strong as it's been in years past. So I think BK's record is what it is. I don't know if it's going to take hits later in the year as they play some of the other teams like, the Skyview, the Emmett, that type of stuff. But Valley View is struggling, Nampa's struggling. That's going to count against BK later on, with those teams not being as strong this year. So that could be a little bit of a nick in the armor that you could see Lakeland. I think if teams left in the rankings, Lakeland and Sandpoint have the most ground to gain between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, strength of schedule right now. Sandpoint's at a 1.8, Lakeland's at a negative 4.1.
Yeah.
And so it'll start to grow, but
they played 2 4A games, and I think that's where that's coming into play. But
yeah.
I mean, Weezer's going to continue to bankroll wins too. I see the Wolverines are going to be continually winning games.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll be exciting to see, and you don't see them, I don't see them dropping much further than where they're at. Even if they, whoever loses the game, I don't see them dropping, below 7 or 8, really.
Yeah.
Sandpoint having that win over Twin Falls really helps out. In the chat, BK and Hillcrest look tough from Kevin Buckhout.
Hillcrest looks tougher than anybody, I think, in my opinion. Sweetwood is a stud. And I know that they talk about it at length last night on the Gem State game day. But I do look, though, either of these teams will gain ground significantly between now and the end of the year, of who's got what left on the schedule. Sandpoint, I think, can have the higher ceiling than Lakeland, purely based from the scheduling standpoint. Just because they've got 2 6A games and then Lewiston and Lakeland left, where Lakeland has Moscow, which is another 4A game, and then they've got Timberlake, which is another 4A game. They're going to have 4 4A games on their schedule. And I'm not going to blame the Hawks for going that direction. I still think they're a really good team. But they only have 2 5A games left. Anybody above that, they got Sandpoint and Lewiston really to gain ground. If Sandpoint can run the table, I could see them getting as high as 2 or 3. So that's not out of the question by any means. I think if any team that's left, Sandpoint has the higher ceiling.
I agree. That was a good analysis. Back to this real quick with Lewiston. Lewiston's what I'm going to touch on. Bothell last year just pounded Lewiston, and it was a kind of a come from behind win. Yeah,
they're good.
They were up 28-15 heading into the fourth quarter. And Dallas Richardson, who's the sophomore quarterback, came in against Post Falls, number 43. I was doing the broadcast, and I'm like, who in the world?
House money, man.
Yeah, Zane was like, yeah, there's this new guy, Dallas Richardson. He'll come into play at some point. And I'm like, 43? Like, he couldn't have found like a 4 or a 6 or like
or even a 20 number like Flutie.
Anything. 43, come on. So maybe at some point he'll get a better jersey. But they had this huge win. Michael Earl had 2 touchdowns late. And they ended up winning the game. So that was a huge one. And then the other one that I'm going to touch on that we didn't get was the Prairie Kamiah game. Kamiah ended up winning 22-12. Defensive battle. Anytime Prairie needed to get a first down, Kamiah always shut it down. In the third quarter, there was a touchdown, and I'm going to pull it up. And I got these photos from Jackie Landmark, who happens to be, the volleyball coach for Kamiah and also Lawson's mom. But she sent me this photo as Lawson's heading into the end zone, jumping over one of the Pirates. I think that's Levi Gearing. Sorry, Levi, I have to send that.
Hit the Y button.
And then the other photo is him flipping over the end zone. So Lawson put his team on his back, didn't have Everett Oatman playing. It was a huge win for the Cubs and kind of cemented where they're at right now. Right now,
that's
number
a big
2
win
or 3.
playing shorthanded. Yeah, that's a huge win. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people expected Kamiah to win that game going into that, seeing that Everett Oatman wasn't playing. So for them to do that against Prairie, massive implications. Well, let's move ahead to the schedule this week. I'll hit on some of the games in District 1, and you can stop me on one that you see. We have Lake City and Eisenhower. They play Kellogg, Bonners Ferry, Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, Lakeside, Coeur de Christ.
Let's go to that Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene game real quick. Yeah.
Let's do it. No one dived into it on the Gem State game day, so we have to.
Yeah, no, I mean, they skipped over us, so we'll go ahead and talk about it ad nauseum. But yeah, I mean, Coeur d'Alene, since they made the quarterback change to Tanner Stern, I know we said off air, we were talking about it off air, but I was like, I don't know if Coeur d'Alene loses another game the rest of the way if Tanner's running the helm, just because of the athlete that he is. He's a true threat back there at QB. He's a big kid. I mean, 6'5". He's got a massive frame. Sandpoint's going to have their hands full. Like of all the teams on Sandpoint's schedule, Coeur d'Alene's the one that I look at that I'm like, mano, that back seven. So if you take the linebackers in the secondary of Coeur d'Alene, that's the best defense, in my opinion, Sandpoint will face this year on that part of the team, of the field. Because I'm not saying that Coeur d'Alene's necessarily better than Lakeland, but I think they're both really good. But Coeur d'Alene's linebackers they're sideline to sideline guys. I mean, they can run. They're quick. They're kind of built like safeties, but they can come up and hit, and they fill. If Sandpoint can ball control with the run game to keep Coeur d'Alene from dropping 5, dropping 6 in coverage, I think the Bulldogs have a great chance of winning the game. I really do. It's going to take a clean game from Buckout, no turnovers, like that type of, and that's been his calling card this year. They've been really good at controlling, protecting the football. They cannot shoot themselves in the foot and get behind the sticks early in the downs. Penalties on first and second down would hurt against Coeur d'Alene just because they do play really good defense. And then Coeur d'Alene, otherwise, I mean, they're going to have to keep the score close. I think if they can keep it close, it's going to favor the Vikings. If it gets streaky and Sandpoint gets out to a jump, it's going to play to their favor. So, it's going to be an absolute brawl. I mean, those two teams, there's not a lot of love lost between the two programs. They're longtime rivals. And as Kevin Buckout says in the comments, I don't know if you want to bring that up, but he absolutely nailed it. They've got to get the run game going. And yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, Sandpoint, if they can get the run game going, it's going to keep Coeur d'Alene honest on defense, and it's going to give them their chance to get those over-the-top shots to Yarborough, to Gomez, to hit them, get the downfield shot. But expect a great football game. I mean, I know it's a 5A, 6A game, but, I mean, this is just like old school, early 2000s IEL football that's just black and blue. And, yeah, I mean, I look forward to that being a dandy of a ball game. So
yeah, it might be live and free on IdahoSports.com.
It could be. We'll let you know if it is. We'll make a post about it for sure.
Some of the other games: Glacier Peak in Post Falls, Showban and Clark Fort.
The Glacier Peak Post Falls game will be fun because that's on the red turf at EWU. It's on the Blood Rug, so that'll be a ton of fun just to see that game purely for aesthetics reasons. But yeah,
the Blood Rug. And then Wallace and Troy. Okay, switching gears to District 2, Lewiston and Rigby play tomorrow night at University of Montana. That's a huge game for Lewiston. If they could keep it close or pull it off, that would be.
Rigby's been shorthanded.
Huge.
I mean, Rigby's been shorthanded, so you want to get a chance to see if you can step toe to toe with the best, Coach Hobart and company. They're going to get their chance against a really good, really, really good defense. Rigby defensively is probably one of the best high school units in the last few years that they've had there. The Trojans, they've been phenomenal. So Lewiston will have a tall task in front of them, but it's not impossible. Let's put it that way.
Blood Rug, got to bring it out. It's all right.
It's more magenta now because of it being faded by the sun, but yeah.
The other games we got are a lot of 8-man plus. Columbia of Washington plays Orfino, and Grangeville plays West Jeff down in the Bulldog Bowl down in Nampa. That's a big game on Friday. It's going to be a big, tough match for Grangeville. Last year they played West Jeff, and it was a really tight game that West Jeff ended up winning by a couple touchdowns. But then otherwise we have Kamiah Clearwater Valley. That one's going to be streamed on IdahoSports.com. I'll be there for that call. Potlatch and Deary play, Kendrick and Lapway, and Logos and Prairie. That's the big one of the weekend. That's going to figure out who the heck's number 2. or who the heck's number 3 in the White Pine League, and give us a good idea there. I think it's going to be a huge defensive battle, and it's going to be who can score the most points at the end of the day, and that's
or
going to
score
be,
at all,
or score at all. You're right, and that's a very good point.
Yeah, that's going to be a low. I mean, of 8-man, you're used to seeing scoreboards shorting out. Kendrick's already hit triple digits this year, but that game could be in the 20s. Like realistically, the high teens, low 20 game between those two programs. Two very good defenses. Two teams like to control the ball on offense, take their time, and get their big plays as they come. So that game is the marquee game. Other than we talked about Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, I think Logos Prairie is going to be a dandy ball game.
I agree there. Well, let's switch gears to our final portion of the Prepcast. What's more likely, or higher total, however we want to go about saying it. And we're going to start in football.
Other than helmet stickers, because we forgot to do that right at the end.
Other than helmet stickers. I can never remember helmet stickers. Who's more likely to get their first win of the year, Scaggs? Timberlake versus St. Mary's, or Lake City versus Eisenhower?
Lake City. Yeah, that's a quick one there. St. Mary's offensively is pretty potent. I mean, they lost to Moscow last week. There was a lot of turnovers in that game. Timberlake's, shorthanded. They lost in OT to Kellogg. I think St. Mary's, obviously, if you go head-to-head matchups, common opponent, St. Mary's took care of Kellogg pretty reasonably. So, I'm going to say Lake City against Eisenhower. Hasn't been historically the strongest team out of the Yakima area. So I will go with the T-Wolves. The Fighting Coach Houts will get it done on Friday night.
Eisenhower is winless on the year, 0-3, and I think
they lost
lost by 3 scores to Wenatchee.
Yeah, that's the team of all the, that's the game on their schedule. If they're going to get things rolling and start bankrolling wins to hope to have an outside puncher's chance at an at-large bid, they've got to get the win Friday night. It is a must-win for the Timberwolves, in my opinion. I think they get it done.
I agree there. Boys soccer, who scores more? Coeur d'Alene Charter versus Post Falls. They play at 7 o'clock. They average 6.5 goals a game. Or combined scores for a game tomorrow, Sandpoint and Moscow. They both average together 7 goals. So combined Sandpoint, Moscow, or Coeur d'Alene Charter versus Post Falls.
Just because law of averages, I'll take Sandpoint, Moscow. So you go from playing 4A, they're 5A technically, but they're a 6A school. Yeah, we'll go Sandpoint, Moscow.
Fair point. Coeur d'Alene Charter's already playing up technically, so maybe it'll be a challenge. Who knows? Okay, volleyball. Who's more likely to knock off number 1? Potlatch beating Troy, or Priest River beating Kellogg? Both have already played in the last 2 weeks, and they both got swept by the higher seed. And it was 3-0 straight across the board, relatively not that close.
Priest River's been playing tough lately.
Remember last week you said Kellogg wasn't going to lose a game, lose a match the rest of the way.
Yeah, I'll go with Potlatch against Troy. Potlatch has been playing really well too, so I'll stick with the Loggers on that one. If anybody's got a chance of beating number 1, I think it's that side of things, and that's no knock, friends in Priest River. I'm not saying that you suck. I'm just saying that in my hypothetical situation that we are talking about here today, I will give Potlatch the better chance.
That's fair. I think our other what's more likely last week didn't work out very well for us. We said Coeur d'Alene and Kellogg were going to go undefeated, and that night, I think it was that night or Thursday night, Coeur d'Alene lost.
The kiss of death, right?
We're like, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and then I know that Coach Zepeda up at Priest River probably never wants to come on our Prepcast ever again. So since he's talked to us, they've been 0-2. So farewell, friend.
Yeah, that's a shame. We have
we're the black cat walking through. Yeah, we're the black cat crossing their path right now.
The one that you did hit on was Kendrick scoring, or Maddox Kirkland touchdown passes against Clearwater Valley points. He had 3 or 4, I think, and Clearwater Valley did not score. It was 102-0 if you missed it. So we thought we'd bring on we have 3 what's more likely. We'll hit on every single sport. And then we have to throw a Kendrick one in every single week because we never talk about Kendrick. So
they're undefeated and we don't even mention them because they're so good. You're like, why do we talk about them? But no, we need to.
Exactly. So the what's more likely of the week, Kendrick total points versus Lapway in the first half only. They average 81 points a game on the year. They average that. Or Logos versus Prairie combined score plus Clearwater Valley and Kamei combined score. Just to give you a little bit of reference, that total, if you combine their averages on offense, it comes out to 120.
Are we going first half versus first half or
nope,
total game?
Full game. Those 4 teams get the full game.
I think Kendrick was ahead 80-something to nothing a half. So I'm going to – I'll take Kendrick. I it sounds so terrible. And I don't want to poo-poo on people. Like, that's how good this – and I said this to Sean Kane today. We were texting about it. He runs the East Idaho Prepcast. And I was like, you give Kendrick 3, like, average linemen, just average – they go and win the 3A state championship, and they would probably play Sugar for the 4A state championship. That's how good the athletes are on this Kendrick team. I'm not joking you. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch them play, I'll have their game on October 10th against Kamei here on IdahoSports.com. That is a fun watch. They are must-watch football. It is a awesome brand, coached by a young buck. The coaching tree from Zane Hobart goes down to Ty Kep, and he's doing a phenomenal job already with that group. But yeah, they've got dudes on dudes. I mean, for an 8-man team, it almost doesn't seem fair some nights. And that's not a knock against the competition. I think that's more the compliment of the kids within the program for Kendrick.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have them next week too, as they play Potlatch. So we have them about every single week on Idaho Sports. It's almost a guarantee, except this week. If you want to see Kendrick, go to IdahoSports.com.
Well, I had their game against Potlatch in the playoffs last year, and Potlatch, bless their heart, they were down like 4 starters in that game. But I believe it was like 50 to something at halftime in that game in the first round of the playoffs. It's not the same Potlatch team that we saw at the end of last year. I mean, Potlatch, they've been playing really well. But yeah, Kendrick's just loaded. I mean, they've got between Raleigh, Rotsitzinder, and a lot of the other Nathan Twite. We skip over him, and he might be the best athlete in 2A. And then Maddox, Kirkland, spinning it, and then they've got Cade Silflo, and I mean, we can just go on and on. They've got Clement Hagen's a dude that doesn't get talked about much, and that might have been the best addition coming back to the team that we've seen this year. And as good as Nathan Twite's been, they still won a state championship without him last year. But Tanner wasn't even on the team last year because he was playing hockey, and that kid is an animal. I mean, I'm not kidding. He would start for every 6A team in North Idaho. That's the type of kid they've got in Tanner Clement Hagen.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it will not be the last time we touch on Kendrick. So we figured our 5-minute rant about the Tigers.
We're good. Helmet stickers, and let's get out of here because we've been.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. First ones from District 2, Dallas Richardson, 16 for 24, 270 yards, and 4 passing touchdowns to lead Lewiston a win over Bothell. And the other one for me is Jackson Banks of Genesee, the quarterback. 397 total yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. 315 passing yards, 82 rushing. So big win for Genesee against Lewis County. And great performance by Jackson Banks.
So I'm going to preface my helmet sticker because I'm not going to give it to the person that I mentioned right off the bat. So stay with me. Griffin Tamagni against Post Falls last week was 155 yards rushing, 3 TDs. Phenomenal ball game. I'm going to give it to Lakeland's offensive and defensive line. They were lights out. I mean, they gave up less than, I think it was under, for the game, it was like under 80 yards rushing against Post Falls, who've been averaging, I think, over 145 yards a game or something like that when I did my math. So they were just unbelievable. The defense and then the offensive line, though, the stat for me that was gaudy, I was going through my stat line and I could have missed one, but I had Lakeland had 2 plays on Friday night, just 2, that went behind the line of scrimmage on offense. 2 negative plays the entire game. That's an offensive line taking care of business and going to the woodshed. Like, that was awesome. As my dog is going nuts, I apologize. But so, yeah, I'm going to give my helmet sticker this week. We're not choosing a player. We're choosing a group of 5, and I will name them because not a lot of love gets shared about offensive linemen. My helmet sticker this week goes to Will Peed, Aiden Hueso, Damon Huddleston, Ernie Steele, and Kendall Munier. Like, those are my helmet stickers for Friday night.
We should look into buying helmet stickers and go to, mail these out.
That'd be awesome. Awesome.
We should hit up Brandon about that idea.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be it for our long-winded season 5, episode 7 Prepcast. As always, it was a good one. You have to tune back if you missed it. Matt Ruchti was on here with Lake City girls soccer, and it was a blast. So we want to get last few comments. Kevin Buckhout says, love the podcast, fellas. Keep it up, the good work. And Sam Buffington, I'm late. Oops.
He's been truant, man, the last couple of weeks. Like, it's more than late. Like, I'm just going to straight up call. See him. I'm calling mom and dad. You're going to get a pink slip.
I'll be at Coeur d'Alene on Friday to see Scaggs, maybe.
We'll see. We'll let you know.
Time to walk the dog, and the dog is hungry. Well, that'll be it for us on the North Idaho Prepcast. As always, Ryan Scaggs and Hayden Uhlenkott. We will see you next week here on the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.